Turning to our next story, the tragedy at Sandyhook Elementary School prompted a flood of donations from all over the country. 3 months after the shooting, millions of dollars are still unspent, prompting heated debate over how it should be spent. Over the weekend, though, a group of Newtown High School alumni raised another $80,000, but they have a specific goal in mind. The Newtown high schoolers mostly lost touch after graduation, but reconnected after the shooting. They began talking about ways to help their hometown. And on Saturday, they hosted a sold-out fundraiser at Fenway Park to support a children's museum in Newtown. I'm joined now by two of the organizers, Sarah Salbu and Laura O'Gary. Both graduated from Newtown High in 2006. Welcome, Laura, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
So you hadn't stayed in touch, but you knew that you and some other friends were in the Boston area. Mm-hmm. When this happened that day, back in December, what was your first reaction?
I think for everyone, it was just, is this really happening? Not just in my hometown, but anywhere. And then for most of us in Boston, I think we just really felt disconnected. And that we really wanted to find a way to help our community since we're no longer there. I know a lot of us went home over the holidays, which was just shortly after it happened, and we all came back to Boston, and we had been with so many people who felt impacted in kind of the same way that we had, and now being back in Boston, we just wanted to kind of help, a way for us to help ourselves get through it, and then also provide our friends, our colleagues, anyone who's looking to help with a way to help.
So who started this, Sarah? How did it all get, who reconnected? How did it get?
So it started with a Facebook message. And so after returning from the holidays, we were now all back in Boston, and we felt the group that was living up here but had graduated from Newtown, we said, we need to get together. We really need to make an effort and make time for each other and support each other. And so it really was a simple, let's get together, chat about possibly doing something to give back to the hometown that we love so much. And it just kind of evolved from there. So it started pretty small, but grew pretty big.
All right, so the fundraiser this past weekend, you had a star-studded cast there, too. Governor Deval Patrick, Therese Murray, Senate President, who you work for. Mayor Tom Menino was there. Yep.
Attorney General, Speaker, yeah, and really, I think what happened is a lot of times, these public officials get invited to events all the time, and for us, we reached out just to say, we're holding this event, we would love for you to be there. We know that most of you have been very vocal after this happened, and it was an immediate yes from all of them.
Just talk, Sarah, what did you actually raise money for? It's some children's museum. Is it going to be in Newtown?
Yes, and so this was it's called the EverWonder Children's Museum, and it's the founders of the museum their mission is to build a safe haven for creativity, exploration, and learning. And so when we learned of that and their efforts to bring the museum to Newtown specifically, and even the principal at Sandyhook had been behind and
so this had been going on before the shooting. They had been trying to bring this.
Yep, and so we felt very strongly when we learned of this, because we did have conversations of, well, what could we do? How could we give back? And when we learned that there was something tangible that we could support that could actually benefit and be enjoyed by the children of Newtown, we really were excited about that. We felt very strongly that this was important, that we should put our efforts behind this.
We were talking before the show started, and there was a big story in the New York Times today about all this money that is poured into the town. And there's one guy who's kind of nonpartisan, so to speak, who's in charge of how it should be dispersed or helping to. And it's a huge problem. You're doing something very specific. It's for the museum, but it's complicated. Should it go to the families? Should it go to greater causes? Stop handgun violence, that kind of thing. What's your feeling about that?
I think there's so many places that really need assistance right now. I think that that's not going to end either. I hope that when they're determining where the money goes, they think for the long term, and I think that the story actually pointed that out. And for us, that's something that we spent a lot of time talking about, I think almost more than we did deciding what kind of event we would do. And we really focused on bringing something, like Sarah said, something tangible to Newtown, because we were hesitant to give to something where we weren't sure where it might end up. Yeah. We looked into a new school, memorial, things like that, but there's nothing really set up yet that's that specific. So that's why we went towards the Children's Museum. We thought that was a good idea.
Now, did either of you actually know anyone? Your husband graduated from Sandyhook Elementary. Did you know any of the families?
I personally know a lot of the people who are in the school, or not a lot, a few of the people who are in the school who survived, thankfully. And my husband's mom knows one of the families who lost a son. She was actually with her at the gym at the time when it happened.
Wow. So you mean you're doing this without even knowing these people?
Right, but it's just, I think, even though, no, I didn't know any of the families personally, you feel so connected. And it's just, you know, that's my hometown. That's literally where I grew up those formidable years. And so we're a very tight-knit community. And when something happens to someone in the community, we stand up for them. And so I think that was, even though, no, I didn't know them personally, and a few other people, you know, we did have mixed connections, we still felt very strongly that we needed to do something to support our town.
So how many of you are in the Boston area now, the Newtown group?
There's 8 of us who planned this event, but there's many, many Newtowners who are living in Boston. After news got out what we were doing, we just heard from so many Newtown High School grads who wanted to help in any way that they could, and that's actually a couple ways that we got a lot of our silent auction items, a lot of our sponsorship. It's just Newtown grads who live and work in Boston, and they.
Oh yeah, you got a James Taylor car.
Yes,
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, he actually reached out to us after hearing about it. It's not something that we solicited. He's been, I know, very vocal about the Newtown event, so. That was wonderful. It brought in a lot of money for us.
So going back to do you think, though, that some of this, should the families themselves benefit, though? I mean, this is different, I understand that, but, I mean, it's always a conundrum about whether, I mean, you suffer a tragedy, should you be rewarded financially?
I know, and that is a difficult question to answer because nothing can ever bring back a loved one. So we struggled with that as well, with that question.
I say yes.
Yes.
Laura, thank you so much for coming. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
All right, and when we continue, the doctor, a veterinarian to be exact, is in.